Sorry about that. So, we'll discuss now your question and answer. Yung sinasabi lang natin dito is that uh, the the people who advocate yung mga advocacies ng ilang mga tao who refuse to distance themselves from the violent organizations, they're doing the advocacy a disservice. Masyadong how do you call this? Masyado silang kumbaga, parang pinipilit nila masyado na na masama yung Anti-Terrorism Act, masyado nilang pinipilit yung stand nila at the expense of their advocacy. Okay. So, okay, questions tayo. Para mas maliwanag yung mga ina-adjust ko din yung ilaw kasi kanina masyadong matapang yung light. Okay, there we go. Ayan, ano yung mga tanong natin? Ina-adjust ko din yung ilaw kasi kanina. Yan. Okay, sorry about that. May mga nagte-thank you for answering their questions. Wala pong ano man yan. Could you elaborate po on the word denounce, sabi ni Pep Fernandez. Why is it so apparently difficult for Risa, Angel, et al. To do that? I don't understand din all they have to do is say, hindi kami sang-ayon sa ginawa ng grupo na ito. Hindi kami sang-ayon doon sa, let's say, panununog. Hindi kami sang-ayon doon sa ambush ng ating militar. Hindi kami sang-ayon. Diba? These are acts. But tumataginting yung katahimikan tungkol dito. And worried ako na nagsasuffer yung advocacy because of that. Okay. Tinatanong ni Rolly Claro, what does it take to remove the party list system? Unang-unang, hindi ako sang-ayon na tanggapin ng party list system. And pangalawa, what it takes is a constitutional amendment. Okay? Bakit? Na-subvert ng kabila. Kasi ang ginagawa ninyo is that ina-identify ninyo yung party list with the Reds. Hindi po ganun. Kasi maganda yung advokasya na to, maganda yung party list kasi it allows those with less possibility of representation na makilahok at makagawa ng mga batas na kailangan ng mga minorities natin. Kung meron sana tayong malakas na advokasya sa loob ng Kongreso para let's say sa mga veterano, para sa mga, meron yung mga handicapped, okay, they get their laws in, kasi may representante nila sa Kongreso. Ang kaso, dahil natuto yung kabila kung paano nila gagamitin yung electoral system at makapag-upo ng mga representante, sila yung nanalo. Kaya nilang magpapanalo dahil organisado sila at konti lang ang kailangan nilang boto. Pero kailangan natin ng advocates for the environment. Kailangan natin ng mga advocates for veterans. 'Di ba? So, tapos ang gusto ninyo, tanggalin yung buong sistema dahil may nang abuso dito. That's not good. It's not good kasi kawawa yung mga walang boses at walang representasyon. Kung inaabuso ng mga taong hindi natin gusto yung sistema, it's not fair na i-deprive natin yung mga tao na may boses sana dahil sa sistema na ito. Hindi fair para dun sa ma-deprive ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng representante sa Kongreso na isulong yung mga batas na kailangan nila. So, sabi ni, pwede bang magtayo ng vigilante tapos ang priority yung mga gagong nagsusulong ng idiotology? Kawawa ang mga kabataang nadadaya ng mga taong ito. Alam mo, kaya tayo may moral authority na i-denounce yung mga taong tumutulong sa mga terorista, sa mga insurgent, sa mga rebelde, ay dahil hindi tayo lumalabag sa batas. Pag naghihikaya tayo ng paglalabag sa batas at pag tayo na mismo ang lumalabag sa batas, nawawala yung ating moral high ground for that. O sige, sabihin na natin na baliwala yung moral high ground na yan, giyera sa giyera. Hindi ba't ito na nga ang ginagawa ng ating Pangulo? Ginagamit niya yung sistema ng batas, yung sistema ng hustisya para mapuksa niya, matapos matugis na itong rebellion na ito. Kaya nga umaangal yung kabila di ba? Because the president is doing it in a legal way at umaangal sila kasi nahihirapan na sila. Pagka hindi kasi legal, baril sa baril, baka may laban pa sila 'di ba? Because let's face it, our armed forces, they don't like shooting fellow Filipinos. They're trained to go after foreign powers, the external enemies. So yung paglalaban nila against Filipinos, masakit yan para sa kanila. Dapat, trabaho nga, ang anti-insurgency, trabaho ng PNP natin yan. And the AFP has only taken it up kasi nga hindi kakayanin ng PNP ito. Sabi ni Ariel Gaurano, hindi fair ang representasyon ng mga party list group, may imbalance. Alam mo, in a way, I agree with you. Kasi, nagbabago eh. Ang problema natin dyan, it isn't the law. Okay, sana yung batas eh. It's the COMELEC that keeps interpreting and reinterpreting. Yung mga previous na mga COMELEC, bago-bago yung number of seats that could be represented, sino yung pwedeng mag-apply as party list, ano yung mga criteria, ganun. Pati yung mga posisyon ng party doon sa balota, nagiging pagkakataon para mawalan tayo ng tiwala sa COMELEC. Kasi yung mga desisyon nila, pabago-bago na tila merong pinapanigan. Hindi natin sinasabi pinapanigan, pero tila meron silang pinapanigan. So part of the problem really is with the COMELEC, the body that enforces these laws. Kasi kaya nga nagkakaroon ng ganun dahil kayang-kaya yung sistema at tama yung nagsasabi na inabuso nila yung sistema. Now what do? We need to run more people in these party lists. Tingnan, sino ngayon ang tumatapat? Hindi ba it's the Duterte Youth Party List? O ngayon tatanggalin nyo yung party list na yan? Di ba anak kalusugan ang party list ni Mike Defensor? Aangal ba kayo dun sa representasyon ni Mike Defensor? He did very well. Oh. What about Congressman Marcoleta? The very famous, very popular Congressman Marcoleta. Party list yan. Ngayon tatanggalin nyo yung party list? Why? You don't like Congressman Marcoleta? What is the problem? Di ba? Don't throw, there's a saying sa English, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Meron kang gustong tanggalin, pa yung importante at saka mahalaga, tinapon nyo na rin. Yung party list system, maganda sana yan. Yun nga lang, ang mga nananalo, itong mga hindi natin sinasang-ayunan. So what do? We vote for those we want to be able to occupy these positions. Ngayon, paano nila ginagawa? What they do is, they concentrate on certain areas. Hanap sila, mayor, kilala ko tong mayor. 5th class municipality lang yan. Pero ilan lang ang mga botante niyan? Let's say 100,000 lang botante niyan. O mayor, kargahin nyo namang party list namin dun sa ninyo, sa ballot ninyo, sample ballot ninyo. O kindata na lang tayo kung anong gusto ninyong isulong namin. So that's what they do. They'll just gather a few of the municipalities na sila ang kakargahin ng mayor or ng pinamalakas na kandidato doon at maipanalo nila. Dahil bakit? Ilang boto lang kailangan? 300,000? Kayang-kaya yan. In fact, dapat kinayang-kaya ni Mocha yan, except na nagkagulo ng time na yon. Also, we still question the presence of Smartmatic, di ba? So, dun sa mga nagsasabi, kasi let's face it, itong sabi tayo ng sabi, dapat tanggalin na yung party list. Nakatulong ba yan? Hindi siya nakakatulong dahil nasa constitution yan, nasa saligang batas yan. Kahit sabihin pa natin repeatedly, until 2022, ayaw natin ng party list dahil nandun yan sa saligang batas, tutuloy pa rin. At mananalo pa rin yung mga ayaw natin. So, bumoto na lang tayo nung gusto natin. How about doon, sabi ni Jan Caridel Nasito, how about dun sa mismong Twitter pages ng mga NPA? They're openly posting updates ng NPA sa kung ilan yung mga nasis nila sa army, etc. Lately, may nag-viral na tweet about NPA posting victory on an encounter against the military. What can we do about that? Yan ang dapat minamass report natin. Why? These people are aiding and abetting the insurgency. Binibigyan nila ng parang chini-cheer pa nila itong mga grupo na ito. So we can complain to Twitter and to FB that these people are advocating for violent overthrow and that these people are actually, parang aiding and abetting a violent insurgency. Kung nagtatanggal sila ng inauthentic behavior, will they allow criminal behavior online? Masama ito. If that doesn't work, then we were going to have to test the law on this one. And if I'm not mistaken, the NTF-LCAC should be on top of this. Ito, sabi ni Ram Tolentino, how about the parents claiming that their children, how about the parents claiming that their children were first recruited by left-leaning organizations and later on joined the NPA and some died as terrorists? Tama ka, ma'am. Masakit sa sundalo na makalaban ng kapwa Pilipino, lalo na sa mga kabataan na deceived ng mga terorista. Alam mo, di ba, totoo yan, I agree with that. Can you imagine the feelings of the parents? Yung ikaw, magulang ka, sumusunod ka sa batas, naniniwala ka dun sa gobyerno, naniniwala ka in the social order, in the political order, and all of that. Tapos yung anak mo mamumundok. Agree naman ako. Pero, what are you asking? How about those parents? Of course, we feel for them. Pero ang sabi nga, ang last announcement ni AFP Chief Gabay ay nakausap nila ang Facebook at sinabi ng Facebook, posibleng i-reinstate nila yung account pero hindi na nila maibabalik yung mga dating postings noon. Hindi nila marireconstruct ng buong buo. Pwede lang ipabalik yung account pero wala na yung na-erase na yung mga dati. Sabi ni Mariscal Eduardo, how about reforming the 1987 Constitution to parliamentary federal? I have no issue with reforming the Constitution to whatever the people want. Yun ang gusto ko. If we want a different kind, if we want federalist, okay. If we want parliamentary, okay. Pwede rin yan. Basta ang para sa akin, it must be the popular choice. Now, the President 2 years ago already started the ball rolling and created a commission. At dun pa lang mismo sa commission, hindi na sila masyadong magka-agree. At dun pa nga lang sa federalist parliamentary, hindi nga sila magka-agree. So, I think at some point they were agreeing on parliamentary but they couldn't agree on federalism. So, let's admit one thing first, is that it's an uphill battle. Once we acknowledge that, then we can acknowledge also some kind of reality in this. Sure, we can ask for shortcuts. Sure, we can ask for RevGov, but is the President going to give it? I doubt it. The President already set in motion a constitutional commission to propose changes to the Constitution. But did Congress take it up? No, they did not. Sabi ni George Fabian, how about po yung ACT-CIS, which we all know are so helpful? Agree naman ako, helpful talaga ang ACT-CIS. Which we all know are so helpful to people, are also in favor of abolishing that party list. Kung nakikinig ka, George Fabian, hindi nga ako in favor of abolishing any party list, or in fact, of abolishing the party list system. In fact, sinasabi ko, itong magagaling mga nasa party list. So bakit mo sinasabi ngayon? Stop putting words into my mouth. That's so unsanitary. Yung sasabihin also in favor of abolishing that party list, go talk to the people who want to abolish any party list. I am not in favor of that. In fact, I am in favor of the party list system. So please, listen carefully and don't put words into my mouth, and especially do not misinterpret my words. I'm perhaps one of the last people who have been advocating to maintain the party list and telling people why it must be maintained. Sabi ni Ken Del Rosario, kung nag-aaral ako sa UP, pwede ko ba isuplong yung mga NPA doon? Pwede ba silang dakpin? How will you know na NPA sila? How will you know? If you have the evidence, then walang issue yan. Isumbong mo sa pulis, ituro mo. In fact, that is your obligation as a citizen to do that. Sabi ni Emmanuel, despite the mountain of evidence or affidavits na hawak ng AFP and PNP, why are they not pressing charges against the CPP, NPA, NDF? Why do you think? Do you think that affidavits are sufficient evidence? Do you think that even they know that they have enough witnesses to do that? Let me ask you this. Why nga ba? For me, it's because the evidence is not enough. Okay? We have enough to, kumbaga, we are morally persuaded. But the evidence at hand and our moral persuasion have a distance between them that needs to be breached. Sabi ni Ma'am Luz Biminda, Soledad Diaz, dapat tulungan mo maabot abolish ang Smartmatic. That's why we are advocating for a hybrid election. Sabi ni Alan Gallinero Pondang, dapat ibalik ang anti-subversion law. I seriously doubt if it will be constitutional to return the anti-subversion law. Yung mga nagpo-post naman ng links, wag naman. Huwag naman dito kung nag-advertise kayo ng ibang mga, ng inyong mga sites, o inyong mga pages. Huwag naman po ganyan. Hindi ko naman ginagawa yan sa inyo. If we're going to the party list, sabi ni Don Abelia, or anyone, makakasuhan ba nila tayo? Red tagging is not a crime. Calling somebody a communist is not a crime. I keep telling you that because communism is not a crime. Diba? What is libel? The malicious relation of crime, vice, or defect. But so if you call them a communist, that's not a crime. But if you call him or her a terrorist, then that's libel. Okay? However, like I said, if these people are public, are officials, government officials, or they are public figures, then it is for them, they have the burden of proving malice. In other words, it's not that easy for them to file a libel case if they are public figures or government officials. Okay, sabi ni Joel Agcol, di ba witnesses na yung mga nagbalik loob sa gobyerno, pwede ba silang gawing witnesses? Yes, but they can only witness against certain people, not against the entire, well, they can also witness against the entire organization. Pero dati, anong mangyayari? Kahit sabihin pa natin na itong mga to, ito, NPA kami, nakita namin si ganito, member ng party list X, na nakikipag-ugnayan sa amin. Oo, that will be part of your evidence. What will the other evidence be? Of course, corroboration and whatever object evidence there is. Kung may CCTV camera, kung may pictures, mga ganyan, this will help build your case. Remember, the burden of proof here is guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, sabi ni Andres Cabrera, well back ng mainstream media ang mga teroristang NPA, biglang nabulagan sa mga masasamang ginawa sa bansa. Why is that? Alam nyo, I don't think there's a single reason for it. Ganito po kasi yun eh. Kumbaga, you can't make a sweeping generalization about every single reporter. Pero remember also that these publications, they're businesses. And what businesses sell? What do they sell? They sell news. The news has to be sexy or scandalous or something that that makes people agitated, makes people want to keep reading and buying more. So I don't know if it's actually a political inclination on their part, or they just want to sell more papers, or they just want more hits on their website, or they just want people to read them more. So for me, that is the most one of the most obvious answers. There could be other answers, but that is one of them. Sabi ni Erickson Bautista, dapat siguro ma-educate ang mga anak tungkol sa mga party list na posible na nagre-recruit para sumali sa rebelde. I think that we have to get our concept straight, no? Yung party list, sila yung nagkakaroon ng representante sa Kongreso, but they represent organizations. So I think it's really those organizations that we need to look at closely for their links with terrorist organizations or the insurgency or the armed insurgency. Tinatanong ni Ang Emmanuel, can Joma Season be extradited? I think he can. Dati, sinasabi ko, it's not possible if he had been given asylum. But now, I understand that he has not been given asylum, and therefore, he can actually be extradited. Or, we can ask the Netherlands to deport him because I understand he has no status in the Netherlands. Antayin natin. Sabi ni Jomar Manyalak, hindi naman po talaga ni Red Tag si Lisa Soberano, di ba po? Minake up na lang nila para maging big issue. I think it's somehow good para lalo maging aware marami how the NPA deceives us. I agree. I agree. Sabi ni Jan, how can we help Senator Marcos push for hybrid elections? Well, we need to write to our senators and congressmen and make them understand that there's a large group of people who are behind Senator Marcos on this one. Kapansin nyo, hindi masyadong pinapansin ng media si Senator Amy dito sa pagtutulak niya ng hybrid elections. No, didn't you notice? Kakaiba, di ba? So we need to also talk about it more. So this is what we're going to do. Hihingi ako ng mga releases dun sa office ni Senator Marcos at saka kukunin natin yan dun sa Senado at iikot natin. Kung ayaw patulan ng traditional media, sige pues, tayo papatol dyan. Sabi ni Carl Alexis Dasco, I think some journalists tend to go against the government to get awards and gain fame. Yeah, you know, sometimes it's the issue that they raise, di ba? That gives them the attention, that grabs the attention of the awards-giving body. So, I think I agree with you also on that one. Sabi ni Dij Lai, sobrang hirap pala para sa mga ordinaryong citizen makakuha ng ebidensya para makasuhan yung mga NPA. Yes, because you know what a testimony is? It means you need personal knowledge to be a witness. You need personal knowledge. Meaning, kung may ugnayan ang NPA at yung party list X, for example, or si party list representative X, or si member X na secgen ng isang organisasyon, kailangan na witness mo yan. Nakita mo yan, narinig nyo yung nag-uusap, at alam niyo yung mga pinag-usapan nila. Papa-shoutout daw si Christopher Ryan from Calbayog City. Sabi nga ni Rosalie, yung ibang mga congressmen, deadma dito sa issue ng hybrid elections. Pues, gisingin natin sila, di ba? Kailangan natin gawin yan. Speaking of terrorists, sabi ni Jason Lapay, yan. Remember sa 44, parang ala naman nakasuhan at that time. For sure, may government official sa likod nun. Ayun na nga yung problema eh. Yung term na for sure means wala tayong ebidensya, di ba? And that's what we need. Yun, bago kayo magalit dun sa sistema, there is no justice system in the world that doesn't rely on evidence. We need evidence. You know why? All of these processes, all of these laws, all of these requirements beyond reasonable doubt and all of that, they're to protect us, all of us. Not just, it's not there to protect criminals, it's there to protect the innocent. So, wag din tayo magagalit sa sistema. Magalit tayo dun sa inability yata natin to be able to come up with evidence that will stand up in court. Don't want rin na masyadong babaan yung quantum of evidence required to prove certain crimes. Kasi nga, pagka ganon, mababa yung evidentiary requirement, even the innocent will go to jail. And that is the worst thing that we can do in a civilized society. Tinatanong ni Ate Sel, ano na po nangyari kay Bicoy? Well, kay Bicoy, na-arraign na po siya very recently. So that's a good thing, maandar yung kaso. Si Senator Trillanes, former Senator Sonny Trillanes naman, ay nag-file ng motion to quash the information. It means he's trying to have his case dismissed on the ground that the information doesn't show a crime has been committed. Nagtatanong dun sa sino na-handle ng electoral reform sa House right now, Congressman Juliet Ferrer. Sabi ni VG, galit sa hirap sugpuin ng mga terorista. No, not under the Anti-Terrorism Act. Kaya nga ang daming nagsasabing at kaya 37 ng petitioners. Itong mga petitioners na to, one way or another, matatamaan sila. So the more petitioners against the anti-terrorism law, then we know that it becomes easier, far easier to prove and to enforce the laws against terrorism. Sabi ni Luz Viminda Diaz, kung kailangan ng personal knowledge, ba yung mga nagbabalik loob, pwede silang kuning witness? Yes, pwede, but they also have to be willing, ha? Kasi hindi mo sila makokontrol once they're on the witness stand if they're not willing. Why not encourage all males, sabi ni Hergine Lopez, to be trained as reservists and accept girls for volunteers at the age of 18. Possibly the NPA will be lessened. Ma'am, wala naman pong difference, boys or girls. Men or women, dapat tanggapin natin sa ROTC. Nagiging commanders na nga ang mga babae. Bakit nagdi-distinguish kayo at vina-volunteer nyo lang ang mga babae? Kung i-require natin ng mga lalaki, through gender equality means, i-require din natin ang mga babae. I'm sorry for those who think that women still have to be protected. But I think that if we're going to put our boys in the front line, then our girls should be right there beside them as well. Because I think our women are quite capable. Do you know that the Philippine Armed Forces is one of the few, and one of the first, to allow women to be combatants? Sa US nga eh. Until very recently, ewan ko kung ngayon, pwede ng babae na combatants. Pero ang tagal bago nila pinayagan. Tayo, was never an issue. Sino po ang dapat na gumawa ng hakbang para ma-deport si Joma? From what I understand, our DFA and the President is already working on this. Si Joma has no status really in the Netherlands. Oh, shout out dun sa mga nasa Sunnybrook Health Science Center. Election reform po sa House, bigay kay Congressman Marcoleta or kung Congressman Defensor. You know what, I agree. But it will really depend on who will be heading that committee. Sabi ni Emmanuel Caseñas, may ipin na ba yung gobyerno para makita yung money laundering ng mga terorista? Opo, nasa Money Laundering Act na yung amendment to the nasa anti-terrorism law yung amendment to the Money Laundering Act, but only as it pertains to terrorism. Ngayon, ang hinihingi ng Presidente at sinertify niya as urgent yung amendment of the Anti-Money Laundering Act as it will be applied to other crimes, especially corruption. Sabi ni Maria Judeline Valle Jorge Ramos, agree on the same opportunity for men and women in the ROTC. Sabi ni September, dapat yatang pag-igtingin ang kapangyarihan ng DILG na magtalaga ng isang loan administrator to provide intelligence, security force, and education to young people kahit wala na yung ROTC or CAT. Bakit DILG? Kasi yung ROTC, military yan eh, di ba? That's military training eh, and the DILG has no control over the military. It's still going to be the military. Sabi ni Marcife Dayo Asarcon, ang pwedeng magandang gawing tulong, palawakin ang pagtulong sa adhikay ni Senator Amy para sa ikauunlad at ibubuti ng lahat para sa puso niya dahil nasa puso niya ang pagtulong. Wala namang issue tayo kay Madam Amy. In fact, yun na nga eh, parang nag-iisa siya. We need to be able to show our support. Siguro mag-umpisa man lang tayo ng hashtag, nakilalanin natin yung efforts ni Senator Amy at of course ni Attorney Glenn Chong. Okay. Yung amendments sa AMLA kasama na yung dollar accounts, hindi natin alam, di pa nakikita yung proposed amendments, but it should include that. Sabi ni Michael Kimson, mukhang nakalimutan na po ng ating gobyerno ang ating mga magsasaka, bumabaha po ng imported gas kaya bagsak ang presyo ng palayuya ng mga local farmers. I think nakikita naman ng ating Pangulo. It's just that the people who are in charge of it aren't either they're not very good or they're not very good people. Sabi ni Alan Pondang, malalim talaga na usapin ng NPA dahil ang mga NPA ginagamit yan ng mga tiwaling kandidato during election. Agree. So may mga protector din sila. Hi Morris. Shout out kay Morris Marco Lim. Dati kong assistant eh. So, yes, I agree na ginagamit ng mga ilang politiko to help them even in their campaigns. At yung iba naman, hindi man sila tumulong actively, ay binibigyan nila ng revolutionary tax, which means tumulong sila dun sa NPA. Kaya ngayon, dun sa Anti-Terrorism Act, kapag po na-proscribe ang New People's Army or including the city or kahit hindi, yung New People's Army, yung pagbibigay pondo, whether it's in the form of revolutionary tax or anything else, or donations, ay magiging violation ng Anti-Terrorism Act, funding or giving material aid. Tinatawag ni Maria Manalo, asylum seeker po bang status ni John Season, kaya po ba siya magtagal sa land of tulips and windmills? Opo, asylum seeker, hindi pa siya bibigyan. As a matter of fact, I think na-deny na po siya ng asylum, so iniakyat niya sa European Parliament yung kanyang kaso. Parliament? European Union, sorry, hindi sa Parliament. Iniangat niya sa European Union kanyang kaso. Sabi ni Jojo Ariate, nagtataka lang ako saan sila kumukuha ng pera, halos sa araw-araw sila rally, mahigit 4 na taon parang hindi maubos-ubos. Hindi po, ganito po 'yon. Sa kada rally may mga sponsor 'yan. So kaya minsan hindi mo maintindihan bakit ganito yung advokasya na nilalabas nila. It's because somebody paid for that. So somebody pays for the packed lunches and the jeeps and all of that. May nagbabayad po niya. May nagsasponsor po niya. Sabi ni Bong Colyado, pag ang mga balikloob na NPA ang na-red tag sa mga party list, magagawa ba ang gobyerno para maging disqualified sila? Pwede na silang i-disqualify. Hindi red tag. Red tagging is not a crime po. Being communist is not crime. Ulitin ko po. Huwag po kasi tayo magpapadala sa ng kabila. Yung sinasabing na red tag. That's not a crime. So sabihin, kasi you know what they're saying, bawal red tag ba? Because it's not a crime. Diba? They want to control our actions, behavior, and our language. Even if it's not a crime. Yung sinasabi natin, hindi siya libel. So kung tinarorist tag natin sila, yan posible pa. Posible pang libel yan. Okay? Pero, kung itag sila as NPA, o iyan NPA yan, o iyan insurgent yan. Tapos may patunay ka na ganon dahil ikaw mismo witness, nakita mo yan, hindi po yan bawal, hindi po yan libel. Remember, ulitin ko po, communism is not a crime, red tagging is not a crime. That's why they want us to stop red tagging, because it's not a crime. So they want us to comply with higher standards, with standards that are not stated in the law. Choppy pa rin ba? What happens po, sabi ni Ma'am Ying, if EU even denies Season, pwede na ma-deport po kaya like any other criminal? Like any other overstaying alien. He doesn't even have to be a criminal as long as he has no permission to be there. Okay, clear na daw po. Sabi ni Jan Nasito uli, hindi pa rin ba enough evidence ang video recording? Sinasabi ko naman sa inyo, hearsay yan eh. Ang video recordings hindi po pwedeng ipresenta sa hukuman nang walang nag-a-attest kung sino yung nag-take ng audio or video recording na yun. So somebody has to attest to that. Yun po ay nasa rules of court natin. Okay. Sabi ni Noel Villadelgado, ano po ang legal issue ng ABS-CBN sa pag-broadcast sa Zoe Channel? Bakit pinaiimbestigahan ng Kongreso? Kasi, sabi ng mga kongresista, ng ilang mga kongresista, what you cannot do directly, you're not allowed to do indirectly. So, yung pagbili nila ng block time, ang sinasabi kanina sa karambola ni Congressman, ni Boss Jonat, is, you're not a block timer if you buy the whole day, every week, diba? You're not it also depends on what transmitter you're using. If you're using your own transmitter, in other words, kasi ABS-CBN, without having a franchise, cannot own a transmitter. Ngayon, if they're using the transmitter where they're using a different corporation that's interlocking with their own corporation, then they're using a dummy. That's violation of the anti-dummy law. Okay, so isa pa yon na issue na yon. Ano pa? Yung tax exempt status po ng Zoe, baka po matanggal kasi by giving out block time, they're no longer a religious broadcasting or corporation or a religious broadcasting entity. Yun po yung mga issues dyan. Sa mga OFW, organisasyon din po yung mga migrante at iba pang katulad nilang organisasyon dito abroad. May bayad po ang membership sa kanila. $20 pag sumali ka sa union nila. Migrante is not exactly a union, pero organisasyon siya na supposedly ang advokasya nila ay pagtulong doon sa mga OFWs. Risa, dog please. Uy, kinukulit na naman ako ng dog. The big dog. Hey, you should. Can you see the dog? Hi, dog. Say hi. Say hi, Yoshi. Say hi. Hi. Panay ang kalabit nito eh. Pagka gutom na. Go to ate. Go to ate. Okay, sorry about that. Sabi ni Roderos, Luminous, kaya ng gobyerno natin ang lahat ng iyan. Humahanap lang ng malaking chance at malaking evidence para sa kahila. We trust the government. Yes, I agree. Hindi, you know why? I also trust the AFP understands the quantum of evidence that is required. So, hi daw Yoshi. That is that is required para tuloy-tuloy ng mapuksa po at matugis at tanggal na ang insurgency. Ako, I agree with the President. Let's end this insurgency. Now na. In this lifetime, in this administration, tapusin na natin yung insurgency na ito dahil hindi po ito nakakatulong. Well, bukod sa hindi nakakatulong, ito po ay nag-hold back sa ating development. Okay? Attorney, kung nagpakita ng muka yung kumuha ng video at nag-shoutout pa, pwede na po ba? Huwag mong pilitin, darling. Kailangan mag-testify yun. Nagtataka ako hanggang ibang bansa umaabot yung Makabayan Block. May mga chapter sila sa ibang bansa. Siguro, hindi naman kasi bawal siguro sa kanila. Gusto ko yung isang comment, kaya nahanap ko to. Yun, sabi ni Genevieve del Castillo, ang yayabang kasi ng mga artista ng ABS-CBN, kahit na part-time lang sila sa ibang channel. Ang labo. Ay, grabe kayo. Kung yung budget po natin, updated na po ba? Sabi ni May, tapos na po sa Kongreso, nasa Senado na po. Chillax lang. Hindi pa tapos. Pwede pang uminit ang ulo natin. At gusto ko lang ulitin kasi I just want to gloat. Kasi noon ako yung nag-report, na hindi binigyan ng up to 1 billion yung budget ni Vice President Leni. Ang daming tumutol, sinasabi, hindi totoo yan. Binigyan daw, kasi sabi ng Radyo Pilipinas, sabi ng ganito, binigyan daw ng 1 million. Mali kayong lahat. Kasi, walang nag-object dun sa hinihikayat ng ilang mga kongresista na bigyan ng 1 billion si Madam Leni. Gayon pa man, nung nagbotohan, dun pa rin sa luma niyang budget, sa 679 million. Kaya, nakakaano we have to read the news very, very carefully. Yung mga ako gusto kong makakita, yes, may cat in here somewhere. Gusto kong makita ng mga party list, ma-erase na itong mga ayaw natin na party list, pero ma-replace sila ng mga party list for Veterans Affairs, for more representation for OFWs, di ba? Representation for artists, hindi yung mga artist-artistan na na nagsusulat sa dingding o sa pader. Yung mga ganyan. Yung artists. Para maisulong yung mga equal pay for musicians, yung mga ganyan. Alam mo, yung mga banda, kadalasan exploit sila ng ibang mga places kung saan sila tumutugtog. Sabi ni Carl Alexis Dasco, sure na ba? Dami nating dinidiscuss, no? Ang construction ng New Manila Airport sa Bulacan, baka may mahanap na naman ng DOF. As far as I know, binigyan na po kasi ng prangkisa rin ng Senate and the House. So, legit na lahat. O, tama, naririnig nyo nga yung cat, pero tumigil na rin, napakain na yata. Sabi ni Marilu Hoson, 679 million is still a lot. Agree rin naman ako doon. Actually, I still think it's too much. Para sa photo sessions. Kayo talaga. Yun. Sabi ni Emmanuel Caseñas, gusto party list for ICT para pagsulong sa technological advancement. Yes, organize nyo. Magtayo tayo ng dynasty party list, sabi ni Leonito kilala. Hindi ko alam kung sino yung mas matalino. Kayo yung mga kongresista. Sabi ni Ma'am Tess Olmedilla, pag nakita kita naliliwanagan problema kong isip, nabubuhayan ako ng loob. Salamat po, karambola araw-araw. Kaya nga nagla-live tayo pag weekends. Okay? Baka naman pwede tayo magtayo ng party list ng mga nag-advocate na kailangan bahagi ng ating meals ang merienda. Alam na natin sino yung magiging representante natin dyan. Okay. So, ano pang mga tanong? Hirapan niyo. Loka lang. At saka we'll be still doing live over the weekend kasi hindi ako masyadong nakapost during this week dahil sobrang pagod. Daming ginagawa. Yun, sabi ni Jackie Perez, party list for healthcare workers. I agree. Totoo yan. Para rin, maayos yung healthcare system natin by the people who really know what's going on. Tinatanong ni Rowena Mempin, makakatakbo ba sa national elections PRRD? May nakikita kasi ako, President si Sara at Vice PRRD. He cannot run for president. Otherwise, he can run for anything else. Pwede siya mag-senador. Pwede siya mag-kongresista. Pwede siya mag-vice president. Shoutout daw sa mga nasa Jeddah. Sabi ni Carl Alexis Dasco, party list para sa Kalambola Coffee. Ang dami niyan. Sabi ni Juneric Kape, okay. Sentina K. Liza, issue is just a mere marketing strategy ng mainstream para mabili ang balita. Sikat nga naman, idol lang talaga ni Gutok at ni Madam Risa. Natakpan tuloy yung issue ni Baby River. Ayun. Pero at least alam natin what was going on dyan sa kay Baby River. Bakit po di ko nakikita si TP sa Karambola? Ito namang si Noel, tagal-tagal na. May sarili na pong show si TP. And we wish him well, all the time. Eto. Sabi ni Aya, Johan, how is Reza continuously allowed to appear in interviews kahit convicted na, like her interview with Prince Harry? Because she has bail pending appeal. Convicted siya, but you're allowed to file for bail while your case is on appeal. So, pwede yan. Aha, that's not a cat, that's a kitten. Sino yung kitten na yan? Ang ingay yan, no? Sana tumakbo kay party list ng Magninyog, Coconut Farmers Party List para hindi focus lang sa kopra at mawala ang monopolyo ng nyog. Ang baba ng presyo, totoo yun. Kaya nga yung findings about the relationship between virgin coconut oil and the possibility that it could help manage or treat COVID is hindi lang nga sinasabi pa ng DOST exactly how to use it. Yeah. Kasi hindi pa po tapos yung research. Okay. Okay, so ulitin po natin. I think that the organizations with advocacies but who have possible ties to violent underground movements are doing their advocacies a disservice for so long as they do not distance themselves from these organizations. Napansin niyo na kino-concentrate nila yung mga issues on things like red tagging, nire-red tag nila kami, tinatawag nila kaming ganito or ganyan. That's even beside the point. Kasi, di ba, what is red tagging? We're calling you communist? So what? If communism isn't a crime. And yet, they insist on that term, red tagging, nire-red tag kami. Bakit ganon? Kasi nililihis nila yung issue. Instead of squarely addressing, no, we have no ties to violent underground movements. No, we have no ties with the insurgency. No, we have no ties with this particular organization. No, we have no ties with the NPA. They refuse to say that. And why is that? When they could have settled the issue just by making that kind of statement. Tama kasi si Yusek Badoy on that one. Denounce it, kahit ako na mismo, pipira na ako ng resignation ko. Why? Because denouncing it settles the issue. And I think they also have to explain why they're not. Why they don't want to settle the issue that way. Why is it always our fault that we're red tagging? Why is it our fault that we're not even paying attention to advocacies? Why is that our fault when you could very easily address the issue and address it square on? Diba? There are ways of dealing with this issue. We don't even have to get angry at each other. Oh, you renounce the acts of this group, go. Okay na tayo. Di ko kayo sasabihan na may links kayo to terror organizations. But I think what is important is that we allow the Anti-Terrorism Act to be fully implemented. Yan. Diyan magkakakitaan eh. Tignan natin. Remember that wiretapping now can be done as long as they have a warrant. And these organizations, if they are in communication with violent organizations, then they have to think twice. So that's one of the reasons why they really oppose the ATL. Pa-shoutout daw sa Jensen. Sabi ni Samales na Pedrosa says it correctly. Nagagalit sa nagre-red tag pero ayaw naman mag-denounce. Diba? Sabi ni Tess JV, good point on red tagging. What's wrong with communism? And in fact, they're very proud card-carrying communists. It's not a crime. There's no more anti-subversion law. Communism is now something that you can discuss in the free marketplace of ideas. You can openly say, I'm a communist, and nothing will be taken against you. You're not going to be put in jail for being a communist. But why is it so wrong to say that you have links to underground violent organizations that advocate for the violent overthrow of this government? Why can't you distance yourselves from that? Diba? So, ako, mabuhay ang kababaihan, ipaglaban natin ang karapatan ng babae, and through gender equality, tulungan natin ang ating LGBTQ to realize and to actualize their rights. But there's no way I'm going to align myself with people who refuse to denounce violent acts over government. Diba? Let's not do that. And we can ask the students, you really believe in advocating for women's rights? By all means, advocate for women's rights. But make sure you're clear about your objectives. You want women to have gender equality. You want the LGBTQ to have gender equality. Yes, but is picking up a gun and asking for the government overthrow going to get that? Are you going to reach your goal? At the other end of the barrel of a gun? Be clear. Advocacy doesn't necessarily mean you have to overthrow this government. And as a matter of fact, the best part of the advocacy here is if we can get the laws changed so that, abused women can leave a marriage. They can have their marriage annulled automatically. It's not even automatic in this country. How did we come to this? Diba? What about abused men also? We have a Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, but we don't recognize in the same manner, the violence against men. I mean, why women, if we believe in gender equality, then it is time to recognize also that women can be oppressors as much as they can be victims. Yeah, things like this. Advocacy means we can be vocal without having to join an organization that aligns itself with insurgencies. Diba? Sabi ni Ador Gabriel, where can we download the IRR of the ATL law? It's in the photo album of Luminous po. Sabi ni Jade Kevin Santos, and I like the way he put it, he put it, communism and to be a communist isn't a crime, but joining a rebel group that is engaged in violent acts is a crime. Good job, guys! So, yan. You know why we're talking about these nuances? Kasi ginagamit ng kabila yan to defeat our arguments. We have to be more nuanced. We have to have more information on how we can defend things like yan, the ATL. How we can defend the actions of our AFP. It's perfectly legal what they're doing. Pero the other side, they're making it look like they're committing a crime. It's not true. They're not committing a crime. They probably are offending you. But again, being offended doesn't necessarily mean you're a victim. Diba? Okay, maraming salamat. Subaybay sa dalawang live na ito. I apologize for the telcos. PLDT po yan. Naputulan na naman tayo kanina sa live na ito. Don't forget to like and share. And don't forget to follow dito sa Luminous. We'll be uploading this later on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel, Luminous by TCA and AGP. We'll see you one of these days on YouTube. Minsan magla-live din po tayo doon. Over the weekend, if you can think of any topics that you want to discuss, except for those that already have been previously discussed to death, then we'll do that. We'll put in a thread dito sa Luminous. Maraming salamat and thank you. Shout out to everybody who's abroad. And let me know also what other times, kasi what we're going to do is magla-live tayo at different times para maraming pong audiences sa makaka-catch sa atin sa live. Maraming salamat. Don't forget, Luminous by Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan. See you over the weekend.